The envelope sat on the kitchen counter like a bomb waiting to explode. Stanford University's crimson seal seemed to mock the conversation that had just shattered my world 10 minutes earlier. "We gave your college fund to Amber," my mother had said, not even looking up from painting her nails. "She needs it for her nose job and that modeling course in Los Angeles." I'd stood there, frozen, certain I'd misheard. My college fund, the one Grandma left specifically for my education. My father finally glanced up from his tablet. "Don't be dramatic, Natalie. Amber has real potential. Look at her, she's gorgeous. She'll marry well. You," he gestured vaguely at me, "you're smart enough to get scholarships or whatever. Books and studying, that's your thing. Besides," my mother added, blowing on her nails, "let's be realistic. You're not exactly. Well, Amber's the pretty one. She needs to capitalize on that now, while she's young. You can always go to community college. $15,000. Gone. Given to my sister for plastic surgery and a probably fake modeling course." Now, staring at the Stanford envelope, I felt something inside me calcify into cold determination. I picked it up with steady hands and opened it. "Dear Ms. Natalie Chun, congratulations. You have been accepted to Stanford University's class of 2028. I kept reading. Full scholarship. Housing included. A $2,000 monthly stipend for personal expenses. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd dreamed of, right there in black and white. And at the bottom, a handwritten note that made my heart stop. Natalie, your essay about perseverance despite family circumstances moved the entire committee. We're proud to offer you the Morrison Foundation Scholarship. Looking forward to seeing you flourish at Stanford. Dean Williams. The Morrison Foundation. I knew that name, but from where? What's that? Amber sauntered into the kitchen, fresh from her yoga class. At 19, she was everything my parents valued. Tall, conventionally beautiful, and completely convinced the world owed her everything. "My Stanford acceptance," I said quietly. She laughed. "Stanford? How are you going to pay for that?" "Oh, wait." She grinned. "You can't. Mom and Dad gave me your college money. Guess you should have been born prettier, Nat." I smiled back. "Guess so." That night, I began packing. Not dramatically, not obviously. Just slowly moving my important things into boxes I hid in my closet. My parents had made their position clear. Amber was their investment. I was an afterthought. 2 weeks later, at dinner, my mother was gushing over Amber's new headshots. The photographer said she has real potential. With the nose job scheduled for next month, she'll be perfect. "How much is all this costing again?" I asked innocently. $25,000 total, my father said proudly. "The 15 from your fund, plus we took out a small loan. It's an investment in Amber's future." "And what about my future?" My mother waved dismissively. "You'll figure something out. You always do. Maybe get a job, save up for a few years. College isn't going anywhere." "Actually," I said, pulling out the acceptance letter, "I start at Stanford in the fall. Full ride." The silence was deafening. Amber's fork clattered to her plate. That's impossible," my father sputtered. "Stanford costs $78,000 a year," I finished. "But the Morrison Foundation is covering everything. Tuition, housing, meals, plus a monthly stipend." "The Morrison Foundation?" My mother's face had gone pale. "As in, Richard Morrison, the billionaire?" Amber's voice pitched higher. "Why would he give you money?" I shrugged. "Apparently, he funds scholarships for students who show exceptional promise despite adversity." My essay was about growing up in a family that only valued superficial beauty and how it drove me to excel academically. "You wrote about us?" My father's face flushed red. "I wrote about my experiences," I corrected. "How being told I was the smart one, not the pretty one since I was 7 motivated me. How watching my parents favor my sister taught me resilience. How knowing my college fund could be given away at any moment made me work harder for scholarships." "That's private family business," my mother shrieked. "So was my college fund," I shot back. "But you made it Amber's business, didn't you?" The next morning, while my family slept off their shock, I loaded my boxes into my beat-up Honda. I'd already arranged to stay with my friend Sarah until summer orientation. As I closed the trunk, I saw Mrs. Morrison watering her roses next door. She'd lived there my whole life, a quiet widow who always smiled when I walked by with my stack of library books. "Early morning, Natalie," she called out. "Moving day, Mrs. Morrison," I replied. She walked over, her eyes kind behind her glasses. "I heard about Stanford. Congratulations. Thank you. And thank you for the scholarship. I just put it together last night. She patted my hand. I've watched you study on your porch every evening since you were in middle school. Watched your parents parade Amber around while you carried yourself with quiet dignity. Richard would have been proud to support someone like you. Your husband. She nodded. He believed in investing in character, not appearances. Before he passed, he set up the foundation to help students who showed true grit. Your essay, well, it reminded me of him. Self-made, overlooked, determined to prove everyone wrong. I don't know how to thank you. Graduate, she said simply. Make something of yourself. And remember, the best revenge against those who underestimate you is massive success. I hugged her, this woman who'd seen me when my own parents couldn't. The drive to Sarah's was quiet, but my phone wasn't. 17 missed calls from my mother, 12 from my father, and a string of increasingly frantic texts from Amber. You can't just leave. Mom's having a breakdown. This is so selfish. Who's going to help me with my portfolio? Answer your phone. This is all your fault. I turned off my phone and kept driving. 3 months later, I was settling into my Stanford dorm when I got an email from my mother. The subject line, urgent family emergency. I almost deleted it. Almost. But curiosity won. Natalie. The modeling agency was a scam. They took all the money and disappeared. Amber's nose job got infected, and insurance won't cover the corrective surgery because it was elective. We're in debt, and your father's hours got cut at work. We know we haven't been the best parents, but family helps family. Can you send us some of your stipend money? Even $500 a month would help. Also, Amber wants to know if you can ask Mrs. Morrison about funding her real modeling career. Love. Mom. I stared at the email for a long time. Family helps family. Where was that philosophy when they gave away my college fund? Where was that when they told me I wasn't pretty enough to invest in? I wrote back. Mom, I'm sorry to hear about your situation. I suggest Amber get a job to pay for her own career aspirations. As you once told me, she can figure something out. My stipend is for my education and living expenses. I'm sure you understand, as you made it clear that everyone should fund their own future. Mrs. Morrison's foundation only supports academic excellence, not modeling careers. Perhaps if Amber had spent less time at yoga and more time on her grades, she might have qualified. Best of luck. Natalie. P.S. You were wrong about one thing. I didn't need to be prettier. I needed to be smarter. Thanks for the motivation. The response was immediate and volcanic. Voicemails calling me selfish, ungrateful, a terrible daughter. Texts from extended family saying I'd abandoned my parents in their time of need. Amber even started a social media campaign about her cruel sister who left her family to struggle. I blocked them all and threw myself into my studies. For years later, I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in biomedical engineering. Mrs. Morrison sat in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. My parents weren't there. I hadn't sent them an invitation. The job offers started rolling in before I even walked across the stage. I accepted a position with a medical device startup, stock options included. It was at my 5-year Stanford reunion that everything came full circle. I was catching up with classmates when I spotted a familiar figure serving drinks at the alumni bar. Amber, now 24, wearing a catering uniform and a fixed smile that faltered when she saw me. Nat. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. Hello, Amber. I didn't know you'd be here. I mean, of course you'd be here. You're an alumna. She fidgeted with her serving tray. I just work for the catering company. It's temporary. I could have been cruel. Could have pointed out the irony of her serving drinks to the sister she'd mocked for not being pretty enough. Could have mentioned my 6-figure salary or the patents pending in my name. Instead, I said, work is work. There's no shame in earning an honest living. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. For everything. You were right. I should have focused on something real instead of banking on my looks. Mom and Dad, they're still struggling. Still blaming everyone but themselves. I moved out 2 years ago. Been trying to save for community college, but it's hard. I studied her face. The nose job had aged poorly, giving her a perpetually pinched look. The entitled sneer was gone, replaced by something humbler. Stanford has a program, I heard myself saying, for non-traditional students. Financial aid available. If you're serious about college, I could put in a word. You do that? After everything. I'm not doing it for who you were, I said. I'm doing it for who you could become. But Amber, this is a one-time offer. Don't waste it. She nodded frantically. I won't. I promise. As I walked away, I thought about Mrs. Morrison's words. The best revenge is massive success. But sometimes the best success is breaking the cycle of cruelty that created you. My parents still email occasionally, usually when they need money. They still insist that giving away my college fund was a sound investment in Amber's future. They still think I'm selfish for not supporting them. But last month, Amber sent me a photo from her first day at community college. She's studying nursing, working full-time to pay for it. She included a note. Thank you for showing me that pretty fades, but smart is forever. I keep that note on my desk, next to my Stanford diploma and a photo of Mrs. Morrison at my graduation. It reminds me that family isn't about blood or beauty or who deserves what based on their appearance. Family is about who sees your worth when you're invisible to everyone else, who invests in your potential when others write you off, who celebrates your success without asking for a cut. My parents gave my sister my college fund because she was prettier, but Mrs. Morrison gave me a future because she saw something more valuable than beauty. A girl with the audacity to believe she was worth more than her family's limited imagination. And that, as it turns out, was priceless. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.